Most adult family home projects don't get delayed because the drawings were bad. They get delayed because the team started drawing before they were on the right licensing and code path. If you're a Washington adult family home provider planning a remodel, a conversion, an addition, or a new building, and you want a predictable budget and schedule, this video is for you. Here's the risk. You spend real money on design, and then you discover your project story doesn't match what your licensing, building, or fire reviewers need to see. That's when you get red lines, redesign, and extra review cycles. Today, I'll show you exactly what must be true before you draw anything using a one-page tool we call the pre-draw must be true map. We'll do three things. We're going to separate licensing from building code from approvals. We're going to identify the triggers that expand scope and fill out the must be true map so your project starts on the right track. Let's start with a simple distinction that saves months of frustration. There are three different systems that you're dealing with. System one is licensing. That's your operating reality, who you serve, how you staff, and what your home must be able to do day to day. Step two is the building code. That's how the building must perform. So we're talking life safety, egress, fire protection, accessibility, and systems. And system three is approvals. That's the path through the city or the county. It's the building review, the fire review, planning or zoning review, and the utilities. These three overlap, but they're not the same. And if your team treats them as the same thing, your drawings will get pushed and pulled in different directions. Here's what starting too early usually looks like. You get excited about a floor plan. You start placing bedrooms and bathrooms, and you talk about finishes and room sizes. And then later, someone asks a question like, are we changing the use? Or is the fire marshal reviewing this? Do we need upgrades beyond the areas that we're touching? That's when the project story changes. And when the story changes, the drawings change. And when the drawings change late, predictability disappears. So here's why this matters. Early uncertainty becomes late costs. When the path is unclear, you pay three ways. First, you pay in design rework, more cycles, more fees, more time. Second, you pay in permitting delays, more iterations, more please revise and resubmit. And third, you pay in construction scope expansion because triggers appear late and force upgrades you didn't plan. In adult family homes, those upgrades are not just technical. They affect operations, staffing, and how safely the home runs. So we're going to reduce that risk by writing down what must be true before we draw. So this is the tool, the pre-draw must be true map, or the PDT map for all of you that love your abbreviations. It's one page and it has four sections. A, licensing intent. B, code and building assumptions. C, the approval map. And D, a readiness checklist that tells you when you're actually ready to draw. Let's start with section A, the licensing intent. This is your operating truth. It should be one sentence that you can say out loud without qualifiers. So here's the template. We are building an adult family home for X residents, primarily serving Y needs with staffing that is true on a hard day. Write down four things. First, your resident mix in plain language. Second, your staffing reality on a hard day, day and night. Third, your capacity intent, even if it's a range. And fourth, your non-fit list, so who you are not trying to serve, so the building stays coherent. If you can't write this section cleanly, don't start drawing, because your design team will fill in the blanks with assumptions, and those assumptions show up later as rework or as operational drag. Now, section B is your code and your building assumptions. You don't need to be a code expert to do this. You need to stop pretending that unknowns don't exist. This section is where you write your early assumptions about egress, fire protection, accessibilities, and system upgrade risks. Do you need a sprinkler system? Do you need to upgrade your mechanical systems? Or do you want to do that for a better patient experience? The mistake providers make is assuming we'll figure that out later, but later is when it's expensive. So we treat unknowns like risk. If you don't know, you mark it as unknown and you assume it's more complex until it's been proven otherwise. Then we mark common trigger conditions. Things that tend to expand scope. Unknown existing conditions like missing as-belts or moisture history. Work that touches multiple major systems or layout changes that affect doors, corridors, stairs, or egress routes. Adding bathrooms or bathrooms that increase fixture and systems demand. And projects likely to involve fire review, especially conversions or complex phasing. The goal is not to scare you. The goal is to keep you from being surprised. The goal is to get you into the mind frame of asking the questions to your designers so you get an answer. Now, section C is your approval map. This is where most schedule surprises hide. You see, you've got to list the approvers who must say yes. Now, this gets pretty simple because we've got the authority having jurisdiction. So you've got your city or your county and that building review. We've got the fire marshal's review, if applicable. Are you putting in a sprinkler system? Most of the time, the fire marshal is going to look at the plans anyway. Is it going to be planning or zoning? Are there any utilities that are going to be needed to be upgraded or changed? And lastly is your licensing support contact. So here's why this matters. If you don't know who the decision makers are, you can't manage review cycles. If you can't manage review cycles, you can't make a schedule that stays true. Now, in section D, we're talking about the readiness checklist. This is the part that protects your money. You are ready to draw only when licensing intent is written in one sentence. The likely code assumptions are written and unknowns are flagged. The approval map is clear. Who reviews what? Your top 3 triggers are identified with mitigation actions. And your definition of done is stable, meaning you're not changing the goalposts weekly. If you can't check these, don't push forward anyway. Slow down long enough to reduce uncertainty. That's how you earn predictability. Now, let's hit a few common gotchas that cause rework in adult family home projects. The first one is the team designs to an assumed resident mix and later changes it. That changes staffing reality, supervision needs, and layout. Gotcha number 2, the project touches more systems than expected and suddenly scope expands. Or you find out that the building plans reviewer is going to require more changes late in the game. Gotcha number 3, the approval story isn't clean. Reviewers get incomplete information, so the project goes through extra cycles. And gotcha number 4 is that occupied work isn't treated like a hard constraint. Phasing gets invented late, which destabilizes both design and construction. The PDT map doesn't magically eliminate all of this. It forces you to name the truths and the risks early before drawings become expensive. Now let's recap. The licensing intent, the code path assumptions, and the approval path are 3 different systems. If you confuse them, your project drifts and your drawings change. Before you draw anything, fill out the PDT map. Write your licensing intent. Flag your code assumptions and triggers. Map who must say yes and confirm you're ready to draw with the checklist. In the next video, AFH 05, is the site fit checklist, because even the right project story fails if the site can't support access, utilities, and permitting without surprises. Download the PDT map and fill it out in one sitting, ideally with any of the people that can change the project later. It's faster to clarify the path now than it is to redraw it later under pressure.